Hey, what's up YouTube? Spawny here. Today I'm coming at you guys with my top 10 decks after link summoning video. I said I'd go ahead and give you guys with this my thoughts on what the best decks are going to be after link summoning. So here I am to deliver that to you guys. Yep. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Please remember, though, that these are just my opinions. These could be absolutely correct, they could be absolutely wrong, anywhere in between. Yeah, let's go ahead and start off with Chainburn being my number 10. I think this deck has the chance to see some more popularity. More commitment to the field is going to be a thing. There's an extra monster zone, so cards like Just Desserts and Secret Blast do even more damage. It's going to be a slower format, so Chainburn can stall easier. Decks aren't going to be able to push as hard as fast, so it slows down the format, makes cards like Threatening Roar and Wabaku even better, just being able to buy another turn. Card of Demise is still at 3 as well, is another very notable thing. This deck already is top regionals in this current format. We saw it top regional. I believe there's a deck profile on Glasgow Yugioh's channel of that. Yeah, I definitely could see this deck see a surge in popularity. It's definitely one of those decks that can come out of nowhere and 2-0 you really quickly. Especially if this deck goes first. This deck is very potent. Yeah, there was actually a point in time where this deck was like every budget player's best friend, and people actually side decked for this deck. They would be siding cards like Royal Decree just for this deck. Definitely this is a very definitely a deck that people could gravitate towards. Number 9, Satellar Knights. Deneb's at 3, Altair's at 3. The deck has consistency. Deneb searches. It still has one Rhoda. It has all its Call of the Haunteds and Oasises. It also has access to Skybridge, which turns any Satellar Knight into Deneb. Trevere is a very powerful card. Yes, this deck does like to go into its extra deck, but Trevere on its own is a very powerful card. Being able to loop back everything, put back your opponent's Link monster, so that they have to invest more resources into bring out the Link monster again. I could see this deck being very good, as well as trap cards. Trap cards are going to be very good again. We're already seeing a surge in battle traps again. Such as Mirror Force cards, and this deck has access to all the Mirror Force cards in the game, plus cards like Solemn Strike, Dimensional Barrier, very, very good in this deck. So I could definitely see this deck take a surge in popularity again. It's a very easy to play deck, very budget friendly, so I could definitely see this deck take a rise in popularity once again. Number 8, Barrier Statues. We've already seen this deck show how potent it can be. Has a lot of access to a lot of soft lock cards like the Wind Statue, any of the Barrier Statues, Fossil Dyna, Thunder King, all the traps in the world. I think I've seen deck lists of this that run like 20 plus traps. So lots of trap cards from Fatal Knight's Sword to protect your stuff, to all the Mirror Force cards, Solemns. Also, Card of Demise is still at 3, so that makes this deck's consistency much better. Yeah, I could definitely see this deck coming in and sealing games. I definitely think stun decks in general will have their place in Link format. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Barrier Statues for my number 8 spot. Number 7, Yosenjus. Specifically, I'm going to say Yosenju Kaiju. This deck doesn't need its extra deck at all. While there's other decks, like Barrier Statue as well, that doesn't need their extra deck, while other decks like Satellar Knights do like to go into their extra deck, this deck can play just fine without ever going into its extra deck. It can flood the field with monsters through its commas, and they just keep coming back. They're indestructible on your opponent's turn because they never leave the field. It has access to a huge amount of trap cards and even a themed Infernity Barrier in the form of Secret Move. And all the trap cards in the world. And it also has access to triple Tenki, so as long as Tenki stays at 3, this deck has its full consistency. And also this deck can utilize the Kaiju engine very, very well. because of Kama 1 being you can go Kaiju over your opponent's Link monster, summon Kama 1, summon, Kama 1 effect, bounce the Kaiju back, and then you just have your Kaiju ready again for when your opponent may try to set up another Link summon. You can Kaiju it again, Kama 1, bounce it back to your hand. So I definitely think that the Kaiju variant of Yosenju's could definitely see a rise in popularity. So I definitely think this deck could very well come in and ruin people's day. So Yosenju for my number 7 spot. Number 6, Blue Eyes. Consistent 3,000 beaters are a thing. Basically being able to drop alternative for free. Alternative pop over a monster. Spirit Dragon is also a very good thing because in your 1 extra deck zone, you can just make Spirit Dragon, which then Spirit Dragon can turn into Azure Eyes, which gets you another monster. So you can utilize your 1 extra deck spot very well. While this deck won't have access to the explosive plays that it once did in the form of like being able to make Dark Matter Dragon, Infinity Harbinger turn 1, I definitely could still see this deck taking a more slow roll approach into just utilizing Spirit Dragon in their extra deck zone, Spirit Dragon being able to lock down the graveyard, and then just being able to overwhelm their opponent with a bunch of big beaters next turn. And it has access to a lot of draw power to get to your alternative, get to your Revival of Dragon Lords, get to all your draw cards, get to your Sages, etc. And just a lot of recurrence in the form of Stone, Sage, Return of the Dragon Lord, Soul Charge. So I definitely could see this deck taking a surge in popularity. People are already starting to try to pick up this deck again. We see alternatives spike back to about $10. Sages are like $35 a piece now. The Stones are working their way back up as well. So definitely could see this deck take a spike in popularity. Number 5, Cosmo. Yep, everybody's either favorite or least favorite deck. Dark Destroyer is still a card. Yes, it's at 1, but you can recycle it with Cosmo Town. Being able to play on your opponent's turn with this deck is absolutely insane, and all the big ships are untargetable as well. So, and this deck doesn't need its extra deck either. You can play variants of Cosmo like Demise Cosmo, which don't really need to go into their extra deck that well. And if you want to play a variant that is more extra deck dependent, like Fire King Cosmo, you have all the extra deck space in the world to play around with to add in a few Link monsters. So I could definitely see this deck taking a surge in popularity. Cosmo Town is still at 3 as well, so the deck has its mulligan effect and its recycling ability, plus a surge when it's destroyed. So I definitely could see Cosmo take a spike in popularity. People are already liking this deck, and it's already topping regionals here in full power Zoo format. So I definitely think this deck will see a surge in popularity post-Links. Number 4, I'm going to pick Lightsworn here. 4, 3, and 2 are can be switched around into pretty much any order, but I'm going to go with Lightsworn for my number 4 pick. And I'm not going to be. I'm going to talk about both Minerva and non-Minerva, and like the non-Minerva turbo variants. So I think the deck will focus more around their boss monster though now, Judgment Dragon. Judgment Dragon is literally one of the best boss monsters in this game's history. Being able to just having a very simple summoning condition for the Lightsworn deck, being able to just drop a Judgment Dragon, blow up the field, and people are going to be committing many more resources to the field because of their Link summons and all the resources that they're going to have to put into their fields afterwards, and they probably won't be as well protected as they are now because they'll have to invest more cards into their Link summon. So a card like Judgment Dragon just being able to drop it down, blow up everything, they lose all of their resources that they invested into their field, and just losing everything. You have a 3,000 beater that can blow up the board again if it needs to. Say they have like some sort of protection, like for one board wipe, you could just Judgment Dragon the board again, assuming your JD doesn't die. But JD is at 3, and it's also searchable now through the new Lightsworn Trap card. So the chances of having multiple Judgment Dragons in your hand to blow up the board, bait out the drop the one, blow up the board, bait out the negation. All right, drop the second one, blow up the board, kill you, is much higher now. So also this deck can utilize Brilliant Fusion like none other. Brilliant Fusion is going to be insane in Link format because it's literally a 1-card resource for Link summon. Activate Brilliant Fusion, send Garnet, send Trick Clown, summon Seraph Knight. Seraph Knight summoned. Seraph Knight give you an extra normal summon, so there's 2 more monsters. So off 1 card, you get 4 monsters for a Link summon. So you can easily just send 2 of those away for a Link summon. Send your Seraph Knight or something else for your Link summon. Make a rank 4. Summon your Link monster. Make rank 4s. And it'd be very, very powerful. The Minerva variant especially will be able to utilize the Brilliant Fusion aspect with the Link summoning very, very well. Just being able to activate Brilliant Fusion, send the Clown, send the Garnet, make the Seraph Knight, summon 2 monsters, make your Link summon, make your Minerva, and just continue to get your resources rolling from there. Also access to Fairy Tale Snow. I didn't list that here, but that's another very notable card in Link format. Fairy Tale Snow is already a very good card, but I think that card will continue to be very good. And once Links roll around. Also, this deck is continuing to get more support in the form of Twilight Sworn, and they've already announced, I think, 2 or 3 cards for the Twilight Sworns, but we can definitely probably expect them to release more of them in time. So yeah, I definitely think Lightsworn will see a resurgence back into our metagame, at least for a little while, mainly because of Brilliant Fusion and Judgment Dragon. And there's budget and non-budget versions of the deck, which both can utilize Judgment Dragon very, very well. So, especially if we see a Minerva reprint. If we see a Minerva reprint anytime soon, this deck will probably bump up on this list if we see a Minerva reprint. But going ahead with Lightsworn for my number 4 pick. Number 3, yep, everyone's favorite engine, Zodiacs. That's supposed to say it's not as hurt as we think. We've already seen the OCG come up with combos with this deck in the form of being able to open a barrage and still make their turn 1 Trident Emerald Field. This deck has tons of consistency cards with 3 Terratop, 3 Barrage, 3 Tenki, 3 Rats. The deck in the TCG so far is still unchecked. So it's very, very good still here in the TCG, especially if this deck continues to go mostly unchecked. It will still have most of its consistency when Links roll around. It's not as hurt as we think, even though I mistyped it up here, but ignore that. It's supposed to say it's not as hurt as we think. Still has all of its consistency cards. Trident is going to be a very, very prominent card. Being able to just pop your opponent's Link monster, pop their summon. Trident becomes infinitely better, and this deck is flexible. Being able to play Kaiju variants, Artifact variants, Pure Zoo. We've even seen it mixed into things like Shadalls. So this deck has multiple different variants that you can choose from. It's a very flexible deck, very versatile deck. So I definitely think that Zoo will still be around post-Links. So going ahead with Zoo for my number 3 pick. Number 2, Mermail. This deck is kind of affected by a Link summon, because right now kind of the focus of Mermail is to go first and make multiple Tree Toads with Bahamut Shark. With Link summon you can't do that. However, this deck has another aspect to it which is going to become infinitely better through Link summoning, because more people are probably going to have to invest more resources into not as well protected boards. Cards like the Atlanteans become infinitely better. This deck is great at going second, just being able to pop through opponents, play through their fields very, very well, and enter into powerful OTKs with cards like Abyss Megalo and Neptabyss being a very simple, Neptabyss plus any water being a very simple 2-card combination, and you can pop 2 cards at least in the process of doing so, if not 3 cards. This deck is one of those decks also where I've said in my ban list prediction videos where I feel like this deck can only get better with more cards coming off the list, multiple Deep Sea Divas, 3 Dragoons to note some. And this deck is very consistent as well. Cards like Teus are still at 3, Megalos at 3. Like, this deck has all of its big power cards at 3, a lot of its consistency cards at 3. As I said, I feel like this deck can only get better. It's a very, very powerful OTK deck. Also, it can utilize the Kaiju engine very, very well. Being able to activate a Slumber, summon 2 Kaijus, pop the Kaiju and OTK. So just being able to clear the field through that. So I definitely think that this deck is going to be become a very, very popular deck. Also, while there is also variants that you can still make your 1 Tree Toad play the Frog engine to just make your 1 Tree Toad turn 1 if you still want to go that route. I do think if I had to say right now what the most popular way to play Water would be is just to play the Kaiju variant and just try to go for the OTK as fast as possible, which this deck can very, very easily do. So Mermail for my number 2 pick. And as if it isn't obvious enough, my number 1 pick is Infernoids. Link's monsters have no level, guys. So, you can literally just summon 2 Infernoids, pop off for a Link summon, get a free beater that has no level, and then just just summon more Infernoids with a beater. It makes OTKing much easier with this deck because you have another monster with no level that won't conflict with your other monsters. Access to Inoku and Deviati are very good. Continuous board wipes that keep coming back. Just absolutely insane. Grass is at 3 right now still. Also, this deck can play without grass, as we've seen a couple of 40-card variants have topped as well, so that's another notable thing. Inoku and Deviati, though, continuously coming back Dark Hole, and a continuously coming back Deviati. Void Feast is another very notable card for this deck, being able to set up a very good board going first with 2 Negates and a DD Crow. So I definitely think this deck is going to... It has to be the best deck. I don't think there's anything that can contend with the power that this deck will have. Just being able, like, Inoku and Deviati are just going to become such blowout cards. Being able to have your opponent invest all sorts of resources into a board and then just summon a single Inoku and wipe everything and ruin their hopes and dreams is just going to become very good. Tierra is also a very good card because you can go you go second, you can go Void Imagination, summon Tierra, and then pop your Tierra off for your Link summon. Oh boy, I have 7 resources in the grave, 7, 8, 9, 10 resources in the graveyard now, and a monster on the field with no level. So Tierra also becomes very good in that aspect. And this deck also has an insanely high resource pool for it to access through. Every one of their monsters is a resource for another monster. It also has a lot of utility with ways to pop through a lot of things, ways to bounce things with Entra, pop monsters with Harmodic, pop spells and traps with Patrol, Deviati and Inoku, as I mentioned, Heavy Storm and Dark Hole. Also, Seismitist is another very notable card, being able to banish things, non-targeting, banishing removal. And then Atondal also being just a BLS. So this deck has an insanely high resource pool to it as well, as considering every one of their monsters is a resource for another monster. So I definitely think Infernoid will, without a doubt, be the best deck going into Link format. Also, it can utilize the Zoo engine as well, which is something else that is notable. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, after Links, we see a non-Zoo variants become the better variants of the deck to play, because they are not reliant on the Link summoning mechanic and not reliant on their extra deck. So that's just my thoughts though, guys. This has been my top 10 decks after Link summoning. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think there's anything I missed? Do you think I placed anything too high? Do you think I placed anything too low? Let me know what you guys think down below. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Follow me on Twitter. Link will be in the description below. I usually, not always, but I usually post my videos up there when they're uploaded. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you can make sure to know when a new video is up. Expect a couple more videos in the next couple days. I have a couple more things planned. I might see if I can get some more cross-bandless stuff with our good friend Plasmic Paladin. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video. Spawny out.